Nice. So let's get into it. For everybody on YouTube who didn't hear my little spiel, welcome to my live. Feel free to fast forward. If you're watching on playback, feel free to fast forward through any lulls. And if you're watching live, feel free to ask questions. Let's get into it. Los Angeles, California. Send you dark psychology vibes? What are you talking about, Willis? Maybe I should make more of those videos, huh? Can somebody explain to me what qualifies somebody as a psychiatrist or psychologist or a therapist? Hey mate, working all morning and up. I am up for a tarn. Nice. Show me the other side, bro. Love this book. The other side, what do you mean? The other side of what? My name is Darin. So it's right up there in my bio. I mean my username. Darin Rios. I am up for a yarn. What is a yarn? Nice to meet you too. He posts his dark psychology reels and I love, okay, yeah. You know, I haven't posted one in a while. Yarn is Aussie talk. So what does yarn mean in Aussie talk? Why do I have lint on my hat and nobody's telling me? Just kidding, I have it because I'm dirty. That's why. No, I'm just kidding. Rolly, what up, man? What are we doing on here? So basically, for those of you who don't know, I get on here and it's just like just a live Q&A. Sometimes it turns out to be like a full-on fucking coaching session, but it's a little more rapid fire, so a little more vague and less specific on each individual's life. Some more general questions and general themes, relationships, psychology, mindset, personal development shit, life experiences, stuff like that. And we just have fun with it. Have to go through trials in our own life to be able to truly help the mentally ill. I mean, to a degree, yeah. I mean, you don't have to, but it helps for sure. I know when I first worked with a therapist, it was important for me for them to understand what it's like to have siblings and Otherwise, like, I feel like I'm just kind of talking to a wall. And just certain experiences. But at the end of the day, like, they don't have to share similar experiences. I feel like it just helps. Chat, it means chat. Okay. Yarn. What's up, bro? Cannot fully grasp life from a textbook. Nah. No, you cannot. You share it all the time. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, man, that's why it's super important. Like, don't fucking rely on a college education to get real world experience. College is not the real world. And school doesn't teach you shit you really need to know in the real world. So, yeah. I think the mistake a lot of people make is thinking that they're gonna go to school, they're gonna learn all the textbook shit, they're gonna make it in the real world because, well, the textbooks are the ultimate authority. But, like, who really is the ultimate authority on anything that we think we fucking know? You know, you hear these people, they talk about, like, well, Einstein said this, and it's like, okay, but didn't he, like, not finish fucking, like, elementary school or some shit like that? But all of a sudden, like, he's influencing the world. And I'm not saying that he's wrong. The point that I'm trying to make is that who's the source? Like, who is, like, when you break it all down, who is the one that really defines that you've made it this far and now you get this diploma, now you can call yourself this, right? And so at the end of the day, I struggled with that shit for a long time. So despite my makeup, aka the filter that I have on this app, I'm 37 years old and I'm still young. Don't get me wrong, I'm not all like, oh, I'm fucking 37, I'm old as shit, but I know I'm still young. However, in 37 years I have lived a lot of life. And when I set out to do what I wanted to do as a photographer, I was 18. But ultimately I wanted to move to Hollywood and work in entertainment, get into acting and work with celebrities and, you know, big names and stuff like that. And I got to. I had the opportunity to do that. Not at the capacity that I thought it was gonna unfold, but it was actually better. It was on a more personal level. And it was like, the way that it unfolded was just like, I should not have been there according to how I thought it was all gonna work out. But I was, motherfucker. And the point that I'm trying to make is that I know people who went to college, like art schools, and fucking graphic design. They went and got their graphic design, whatever that means, graphic design piece of paper that says, you're now a graphic designer who graduated from this school. And they all, like, they failed. But the people, including myself, who set out, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to college. I just had a dream and I just knew that I was gonna figure it out. So I was like, fuck it. I don't learn in school. Like, school was hell for me. So Like, no, this doesn't work for me. I know what I want, and I know that it's not gonna require school. Before all that, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. I was like, I want to join special forces. I want to work for the government. I want to do like top secret shit throughout my career. I wanted to work in all kinds of like military governmental shit. I was just an angry kid who probably wanted to just shoot people. I don't know. I had a rough upbringing. And so I was like, oh, maybe that'll give me purpose in my life. And then I was like, nah, I'm gonna go be a photographer. I'm gonna move to Hollywood. Anyway, I'm ranting now. The point that I'm trying to make is, in order for me to go to the military, I needed to go to school and do all that stuff, and I just couldn't get past algebra, like fucking second grade algebra. And so I was like, fuck this. And yeah, so I just said, fuck it. Long story short, I got accepted into this like leadership program at this church that I was going to. And that was like fucking insane. It was like a cult. It was insane. However, I owe a lot of who I am today because of that experience. I got to travel. I got to learn a lot about myself in not so great of situations. And it really shaped who I am today. Really brought me out of my shell. I was just this hood rat kid who was just kind of just super insecure. And then I just, still a hood rat kid, but I wasn't as insecure. I was a little more confident. So at the end of the day, hey, Marcelo, I appreciate that, dude. Thank you so much. Thanks for buying a badge, man. I appreciate that. That's like a cup of coffee, bro. Thank you. Yeah. And so when I picked up a camera, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I just bought this like $500 Olympus ES 500 or something like that. It was a fucking amazing camera. And so I just started shooting bushes and trees and doing all that kind of stuff, and was like, oh. And then people that I knew were just like, so what are you, a photographer now? I'm like, no, I just have a camera. But deep down inside, I'm like, I want to be a photographer. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't even know how to use my camera, and nobody believed in me. Everybody felt like, oh God, here we go. Like, but what kind of real job are you gonna get, you know? And at the end of the day, 18 years old, fast forward, I think my first big job, was with Kevin Hart as a photographer on a Coke Zero commercial. So it was Coke Zero, Kevin Hart, and I had to shoot marketing material for the campaign that they were doing. It was amazing. No agent, no representation, just me with my shitty camera. I had like a Nikon at the time, which was like falling apart. I was trying to make it in Hollywood, dude. I was maybe in Hollywood for like 2 years at this time. Maybe 3. And so, yeah, that was just the start of it. And it was cool as fuck, man. Like, you get to, working with Kevin wasn't that great. Like, it was just kind of whack, to be honest. But the people at Coke were cool. I realized when I was talking to one of the art directors, it was like, oh my God. And I'm not saying this as like from an ego place. I'm saying this from a place of like revelation. These people don't know what the fuck they're doing. How are they here? How is the head art director on this Coke Zero commercial how does she have no clue what we should be shooting? You're the fucking art director, right? And so for those of you who don't know how it works, typically on sets like this, if there's an art director, they tell the photographer what to shoot, and then the photographer figures out how to shoot that thing. They execute the vision of the art director. Sometimes there is no art director, it's just the photographer as the art director. And I had to do that a number of times, which is great because more experience, right? So at the end of the day, I say all this to say, it's not about going to college unless you're trying to be a fucking surgeon, doctor, or lawyer, something that actually requires this shit. It's about what do you want, and are you going to trust yourself enough to get it? That's it. And what I mean by trust yourself is not compare yourself, not, oh, what's Joe Schmo over there doing? What's he doing or she doing as a photographer or as a trainer or as a therapist or as a coach or as a whatever, right? What are they doing? How are they doing it? Cut that shit out ASAP. It doesn't fucking matter how they're doing it. You can look at it and you can see people do this with me all the time. They'll look at my framework, they'll visit my website, they study my fucking ebooks and everything that I do, and they look at my pricing structure, because I have all that shit right there. If you go and you hit apply and you fill out that form, like in that form, it says, what do you want? Do you want to work with me for this, or this? And it's like $3, $10, and $25,000. Those are my packages. Right there, I have nothing to hide, right? And so some people are like, oh, I can't do that. I just never liked having to fish for people's prices, because I always felt like, oh God, I feel like I'm gonna be fucking sold to. I'm gonna call this person to try to get their price. I'm like, well, what's your budget? I'm like, just give me a goddamn fucking price, dude, so I can make a decision. Let's save this awkward conversation, please. I digress. The point that I'm trying to make is comparison. It's one thing to study, it's another thing to compare. And when you set out to do something, you start comparing yourself to what other people are doing, you've already lost. You've already lost. Because one, there is no such thing as another you. You are the only you that exists in this plane of reality. So when you sit there and compare something that is infinitely unique to another thing that within itself is infinitely unique, it's an utter waste of time. Wouldn't you agree? So when you're setting out to do something with your life and figure some shit out, check yourself. Am I feeling discouraged when I look at this person's stuff? If so, then you're comparing yourself to them. You should not feel discouraged. If you do, you're more than likely, no, you are falling into the comparison trap. And so at the end of the day, it's about figuring out what you want to do and taking the risk of pursuing that with curiosity, just as much curiosity as you can muster, and no comparison. Simply with the mindset of nobody will or can ever do it like me. And then you start thinking like, yeah, they do it better. It's like, that's your negative self fucking bullshit talk. Okay? No, define better. What's better? Right? Like, and it's wild because it's like, even what I do now, I make these videos on the internet, right? To share insight and value with people in hopes that maybe I can inspire somebody or or connect with somebody or make somebody feel seen and understood, or give them a glimmer of hope or peace, or not feel so fucking lost, right? Like that's what I do. And I get messages from people that are like, dude, you have no idea how much you changed my life. All around the world. And it's like that's exactly why I do it. But then it's like, there are people that I would be like, oh no, they're better than me. They're way more articulate. They're way more successful. But yet they're not reaching this person, right? They haven't reached this person, this particular person, like I have. It's like apples and oranges, man. And so if I had sat there, which I did for a while, comparing myself to everyone else in the industry, and here's the thing, here's what I tried to do. I tried to be like them. Like, I'm the farthest thing from a fucking business casual dude. Like, I can do business casual, don't get me wrong, but I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of person. Or like some fucking leggings and gym shorts. Like, that's all I ever wear. And Vans. But I literally was like, okay, I need to stop wearing a hat. I need to stop wearing my glasses. I need to take out my jewelry. And I need to wear these button-ups. I need to make sure that I shave real clean, because I need to look like a successful douche canoe. And I tried it, and I fucking hated it. I was like, but I had to do that in order to figure out like who I really am. And the moment I started leaning into, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is who I choose to be. And I know where I'm going. And I know what I have to offer. Then fuck, okay. I can lean into that. So, when you decide to pursue something, it's gonna take time. Because think about it. You spent your whole life, say 25 years, 30, 40 years, being a particular way, right? And then you're like, I'm gonna change. That's 40 fucking years, or 25 years, or 30 years of momentum in one direction that you're gonna have to you're gonna pull a Yui, but it's gonna be like a, okay. You know what I'm saying? And this is why it's really helpful to work with like a coach or a therapist, or read self-help information and like really digest this stuff, because the more you do this, the sharper that curve becomes, and the more likely you are to change trajectory versus fall back into your old ways, because the resistance is so strong when you try to just do it on your own. You can do it on your own. But if you're not feeding your mind every single day, every waking second of the day, and sometimes feeding your mind looks like not doing shit at all. Like just taking a break and going on a fucking walk and being okay with your thoughts just doing whatever they want except going to negative places. Let it go, right? And then reset, come back. But if you're not actively tilling the soil of your mind, nothing can grow. It can't grow. And so what a lot of people do is like, I'm gonna change, and then they get like a little bit, like they're just going in this direction, like I'm gonna change directions in my life. And then it becomes so much resistance, like the G-forces in a fucking fighter jet, where you're just like, oh shit. It's too much, I gotta pull up, I can't do this anymore. I gotta let go, I gotta, you know what I mean? And so it's like, no. And I don't know if you guys ever seen those videos of what is it? The fighter pilots when they're training or whatever. They have to learn these breathing exercises because the G forces are so strong. If they don't breathe properly, they'll faint, right? And you don't want to faint while you're flying a fucking, like, I don't know, $10 million aircraft or something. It's probably way more than that. But so they do this, like, as their face is like melting, right? It's like that, man. It's like that spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, when you're going through change. But subconsciously, I think most of us, we search for change and we search for answers. Like it's like the answer's gonna come to us, and then, oh, got it, I'm all good now. No, like the answer will come to you, but you still need to digest it. And what most people do, it's like with the whole self-help stuff, is like it's like going to a restaurant and then they place an order for food, and then the food comes and they say, oh, got my food, thank you, and then they just leave. They don't take the time to chop it up and ingest it and enjoy it and really savor it and let it nourish their body. And this is what a lot of people do with personal development, or when they're trying to make changes in their life. Oh, I'm gonna read this book, and once I read this, I'm gonna be good. It's like maybe for like 45 minutes, and then you're just gonna forget everything, and then you're like, see, that shit didn't work. I'm just doomed. This is the way that I am, bitch. You know what I mean? So, look, all of this stuff takes work. You compare yourself, so do I. You fucking get confused, you struggle with shit, we all do, man. And I'm not just saying that as like a blanket statement, like, we do. I do too. Anxiety. I don't really have panic attacks anymore, but like, they try to arise, but they don't become a full-fledged panic attack. And so, but I did, so at the end of the day, look, I'm just running rabbits here, but if any of this is resonating with you, put your first emoji, even if it's embarrassing, put it. Let me know that you're with me. But yeah, as far as like, I forgot how I got on the subject, but like college education and all that kind of stuff. Unless you're trying to be a doctor or a lawyer, or like what you want to do requires you to take classes, then don't waste your time. My family is kind of forcing me to go to university. No, they're not. But because my future career is not a traditional one, I don't think that it's the best way for me to get where I want. I feel like I want wasting my life. I feel like I'm wasting my life. That's your first one. Awesome. Josh, what's the first emoji that pops up when you open your emojis? Just kidding, don't put it. I'm gonna get banned. I already know it. I hate people named Darin. Just kidding. How do I develop this? Hold on, whoa, just got a flood of questions. All right, so my family's kind of forcing me. Look, if your family's gonna pay for your tuition, go take the vacation. Go take the vacation and go study and learn what you actually want to do. There's this website called youtube.com. And there's another one called Google, Goog, sounditout.com. And there's some like cool like artificial intelligence websites that that you can use as well to literally learn any fucking thing you want and learn it and practice it while you're getting your free college tuition, whatever. It's their choice. And so when you get out, go do what you learned and be successful at it. And then your parents would be like, dang, we should have listened to you in the first place. I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it. That's why I sent you to a college that I wanted for myself. I wanted you to do for myself. Josh, what's up, dude? Hello, I'm from India. Nice. Like I learned more about myself. Yeah. So I'm assuming you're young, but yeah, figure out what it is that you want to do. And just fucking, if you're not taking risks, don't expect anything great to happen. It's just that simple. Thank you, bro. I love you too, man. That means a lot. It really does. So for those of you who don't know, Josh Lee Reed, he's in this live. He's one of my best friends. And before I was the man that you see today, I was quite the opposite. I was very broken, going through some pretty rough shit. And him and maybe like 2 other people were the only people there. But I would call up that fucking guy almost every night, I feel like. Maybe not, but like, you know. And so he's the dude who really showed me how important it is to send a simple, how you doing, bro, to your best friends. Because you think like, I'm not gonna send that, like they're probably busy and blah blah, but like it damn near saved my life. How to get into industry as a consultant? What kind of consultant? How could I convince my family? By just doing. You know, I don't know your situation, but like if you live at home and they're paying all your bills, well then you kind of got to do what they say, right? Unless you can really like get away with not. Knowing someone gives a fuck hits different. Beth says, good on you, Josh, out in Australia. And yes, Josh is the friend that got me Valentine's Day chocolates one year. I still got them. I'm like, oh fuck, do I? I think I threw them away because they got old. I had those shits for like 3 years. Your boy needs some chapstick. Josh Reed. So, for those of you on YouTube, Josh Reed is one of my best friends. And, I mean, he's even got a crazy story, too. Like, what were you doing, Josh? Were you working at a rehab spot or something? I just remember there was a time where you just, like, fucking hated what you did. Like, you just were like, I want to edit photos. He wanted to be a photo editor. And he fucking does it now. That's still what you're doing, right? I'm sure you're probably doing more now, but like, I remember when he got the job. Like, his life is a living testament to putting it out there, letting your requests be known, you know. And him and I are both men of faith and believe in God and prayer, if you will. But like, his story is very similar. Dude's kicking ass. Rehab twice, intern at rehab facility. Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny because the company that I think it's still the same, but the company that he started working for, I was doing design shit or editing shit for them early in my time in Los Angeles. It was great money. I think I was making like $50-something an hour. I was happy making the money, but I was fucking miserable behind a computer, just like all day. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I wanted to fucking... It just wasn't fun. I thought it was because I'm like, oh, I'm making a lot of money to just click buttons on a computer. That well ran dry very quickly. But it was funny because as I was doing that, that's when I started getting into like personal development and like listening to Tony Robbins and just trying to be a better person, because I just felt like I was lost and confused. And I knew I had something in me, but I didn't know how to like manifest that in reality. And boy, did I have to learn some heavy shit about myself in order to start having some breakthroughs. And here's the thing, man, it's like, to have some really powerful breakthroughs, it requires you to really look at yourself. Like just no bullshit. Look at yourself and say, where am I wrong here? And where have I been wrong for a very long time that just keeps me repeating this cycle of life that I just do not like? Not, who did this to me? No. Where am I kicking my own ass here? And so for me, one of those things was, you are an entitled brat. It's like, fuck. I added the brat part, but it was like, you're entitled. You feel entitled. And I was like, but how? I was like, because look at how angry you're getting when things don't get offered to you and you see them get offered to other people, yet you're not doing a fucking thing about it. You're not showing up on the internet. You're not putting your work out there. You're not letting people know what you do. You're not speaking. You're not networking. You're not doing anything. You're just expecting a phone call, and you don't get it, and then somebody else gets it, and then you fucking bitch and moan about it because they're half as good as you, but they're getting the work. And I was just like, fuck. Dude, that was such a hard pill to swallow, man. And it's still one that I have to take daily, because it's like, I see people in the industry that I'm in, coaching and consulting and thought leadership and stuff like that. And it's like, this schmuck. And there's like some people that I know from this church that I used to go to, and I saw some videos that they posted recently, and one of them was like, you know, if it ain't about kindness, then it ain't worth it. And like, he's like talking about all this kindness, but he's the most slimy motherfucker in the world. Like, he's one of the slimiest fucking douche canoes I've ever met. Literally physically pushing people out of his church, fist fighting, and doing some scandalous shit on some dating apps with girls that is like, and he's like this. Long story short, the dude's a fucking asshole. Hopefully he's changed, but from what I remember, and I'm just like, eek. And so at the end of the day, it's like, I lost my train of thought because I got worked up. Who are you talking about right now? I'm talking about somebody named Aaron McManus. Would you love to come on at chat? Dude, yeah, you can come chat right now if you want. I triggered myself for sure. What was I saying, dude? God, I was like really onto something, and I started thinking about that. I think it was like how mad it made me, right? Like, I felt that. Like, I was like, oh, this fucking douche canoe. Like, this guy. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, then go do you. Stop sitting there judging other people when you ain't doing a goddamn thing about your own shit. If God has given you a message and you ain't saying shit, but the only thing you're saying is how other people are misusing their message, then you're fucking misusing yours too, you doofus. This is a very hard thing for me to like admit. But like, I think I've just gotten in the habit of it, of being like, I'm over here like getting all worked up about some douche canoe. And it's because I ain't focusing on my own shit. And so like, I'll have my shit to say about these people at the right time. But that'll be within its time. But the point that I'm trying to make is, when it comes to looking inward, you cannot grow outwardly if you can't dig inward. In order to plant a seed for it to grow, you have to dig a hole. You don't just, necessarily drop a seed, right? It's got to be planted in the ground. It's like, what kind of shit do you need to dig up within you to plant those particular seeds in order for you to grow to be a healthier individual? Hey Skaggs, I made you a moderator. Josh, I'm making you a moderator too. Oh wait, I think you're already a moderator, aren't you? So people come in here and they try to like, I don't know, request my live. There's somebody named CJ the Best who keeps coming in here and doing that. You can block them if you see them come in. But yeah, so this stuff creeps up on you. And this is what I'm saying, like, about people who read a book once and nothing changes. Like, this stuff takes work, man. And it's like, if you're not actively trying to grow and be better, then what you're choosing is to rot. That's it. Like, think about it. If you're like, I'm actively not going to nourish my body, then you're choosing to die quickly, right? And your spirit is what? How do you nourish your spirit? How do you nourish your mind? Hey, you are into consultancy business, so have to go ahead and, what? All right, let me go block this fucking dork. Hi, Darin. How can I overcome worry? I'm always worried about money. I'm always worried about money. That's normal because you need it to survive. So it's like one of those things where you're kind of conditioned to worry about it because, well, it's really important. Okay. And so, real quick, Josh, I don't know if you're in here, but maybe we go live in a little bit. I think I can request you on here. So like, so yeah, it's totally normal. However, it's important to understand this. Here's what helps me. Understanding, and this is super metaphysical, but it's reality. All right, Windy Man. I said it like Windy Man. Windy Man. See ya, Windy. Reality is malleable, meaning it can change, it's shapeable. The human mind is the creator of personal realities. Okay? So your mind creates your personal reality based on thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and then therefore you create your reality through those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that happen over and over again. So if you are constantly having thoughts of limitation, then you are getting feelings of limitation, then you are going to behave in a limited way. So it's really important to understand that your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors create your reality. And so the moment you have a thought that is of lack, catch it before it enters the gates of feelings so that it doesn't trickle over into the realm of behaviors, okay? And these behaviors are so subtle that you will sabotage yourself without even realizing it. So this is why it's important to cut them off at the beginning. The moment you're like, fuck, like I don't know how I'm gonna come up with, you know, the money for this thing, or like I this is what's happening, I need to make this, I need to do this. The moment you start worrying, you need to get really good at capping it. Just, and here's what I do. The moment those worries pop up for me, I say, my request has been made known. And I have already declared over my life that I will never not have money again. Because, trust me, there was plenty of low times, plenty, where I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I have to come up with $50,000. I have no clue how it's gonna happen. And it happens. So I really have no reason to worry, but I fucking do anyway sometimes. But here's the thing. Here's the difference between me and most people. I don't stay there. Okay? I don't stay in a place of worry. I direct my emotions to the reality I want to create. And so the moment worry comes in, I say, okay, I see you, but before you enter my feelings and my emotions, you're a thought, you're gonna stay a thought. You're not gonna answer my emotions. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna remind you the truth, okay? So that worry comes in. What if you can't do? My requests have been made known. I don't know what you believe or anything like that, but I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I believe in an almighty creative force that sustains all of reality as it is, right? And we are images of that. And we are co-creators in all of this shit that's going on that we call reality. And so if that's what I believe, then I need to act like it. You know, worry can't become more powerful than that belief. Otherwise, that worry becomes my God, right? You can't say you trust somebody and then not act like you do. And so at the end of the day, that worry comes in. And listen, like, I'm not acting like high and mighty here, okay? Like, it can be a battle sometimes. However, I'm pretty fucking good at this. I've been doing this for a while. But that just goes to show, like, this doesn't just change. You don't just not ever worry again, right? It's a matter of managing it. And so when that worry comes to the gate of your emotions and says, hey, let me in, you need to feel me as if I'm true. You need to say, nah, I'm not alone in this. And I've already made my request known. And so it's not up to me anymore. Like, only thing that's up to me is to choose how I feel, which isn't what I don't want to feel you, which is worry. I'm going to feel peace. That's what I'm going to choose to feel. And I'm going to show up every day doing what I do best. That's it. I'm going to control what I can control and let go of what I cannot control. And at first, that's a fucking slippery fish. But then you get really good at it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Emotion can truth. I believe in God as well. Awesome. And then you can connect with others that are also good at it too. Yeah, I guess so. Will dreams hurt you? What kind of dreams? thank you so much. I'm literally always stressed about having enough. I hate it. Yeah. And here's the thing too, like, don't just willy-nilly it, like, do your best to manage your finances. You know, be practical about it. But worry is how, like, seriously ask yourself, how can worry help you? It can't. It hinders you. So what all worry is trying to control something that you cannot control. So you might as well let go. Let go. And control what you can. And leave the rest up to, well, God. But if you don't believe in God, then good luck. Trying to excuse the fucking crazy shit that happens. That you might want to examine why you don't believe in God. Do you trust the government? I don't know, man. You got good questions, bro. You need to chill. I am sorry, Darin. I have probably missed your answer, but I know. So that I keep doing productive things instead of wasting time, especially. How do I keep being disciplined and keep doing productive things instead of wasting my time, especially with dating, etc.? How old are you, by the way? My dreams have been so vivid that I'm starting to confuse memories, dreams, or did I dream that? Not sure. Oh, that's definitely a thing. I do that for sure. And here's what's fucking wicked cool. I have had dreams that have happened in reality. All right, so you're 32, so you need to start whipping it into shape. You can't just keep fucking around anymore. Because I'm 37 and that shit creeps up quick. Where I'm like, yo, I'm like almost 40, bro. What the fuck? I look like I'm 12. 39 here. So how do I keep being disciplined and keep doing productive things instead of wasting my time with dating, especially, etc.? Hush, I'll be 40 next month. Damn, you old as fuck. No, I'm just kidding. Where is this? What does higher power mean? Oh, it's asking him. Do you think higher powers promote God nowadays? My dreams have been so vivid that... Okay, yeah, so that's definitely a thing. Okay, not wasting time, especially with dating. I'm live on Instagram over here. You need to have a good why. Why do you do what you want to do? So like if you have goals and all these things and you're not doing them, you don't want them bad enough. The why isn't important enough to you. Right? And so if you're serial dating, that's a whole nother issue. Like you're probably struggling with some self-esteem issues. And you're probably trying to find some sort of value in a woman or a man, whatever you're into, another person that you can only get from yourself, and you're not giving it to yourself. Therefore, you're going to attract, we attract who we are. And so if you're a good, kind person who genuinely wants to be better and is doing the work to be better, you're going to attract the attention of somebody who's doing the same. But if you're not, and you're just like, this is the way that I am, and this is all that I am, this is all I'll ever be, well, guess what? You're going to attract people who are like that. And that type of mentality is a stagnant, stale, it's like a cesspool of past programming, of toxic past programming that is just poison. And you're calling it personality. And that's what you will attract. That is what I attracted for many years. And it's not to say that these people are bad, poisonous people. No, like, they were just as sick as I was. I attracted that. Like, you know, they're not to blame. Like, I'm the one who attracted that. I'm the one who brought that into my life. And so at the end of the day, you need to start being for yourself who you've been looking for. Do you understand what I'm saying? And sit with that and look yourself in the mirror and speak to yourself as that person that you've been looking for. What are they saying to you? Where are they telling you that you can be better? Not like you're a piece of shit and you're not good enough. No, you're good enough, but where can you be better? If you don't do that, if you don't create your own best friend in here, you'll never have one out there, man. You'll never have one out there. And you will become a misery swamp that just, or a misery leech, if you will. That just, yeah, you might get friends every now and then who are miserable too, but like, your misery loves company, right? You're just leeching off of each other. And you find yourself alone and nobody wants to fuck with you because why? Because you choose your fucking misery. Stop doing that. You don't have to do that. Who told you you had to do that? And, you know, some people they find their identity in their misery. And here's what I believe. I believe every human being is a walking image of God. We are an expression of God. We are made in the image and likeness of the almighty creative force of all that is. We are created in that image and likeness. So, with that said, if you're choosing to act contrary to your true identity, which is made in the image and likeness of the almighty creative force that is, which is, in a nutshell, love, in all the attributes of love. If you're acting outside of that, maybe you act lovingly towards other people, but when it comes to yourself, you're just like, I'm a piece of shit. Then you're not in your true identity. And you're squandering this gift that you have called life to actually do something effective. You playing small with that identity is the worst thing you can possibly do. Again, this is my opinion. But it's my opinion that I have seen work. I'm not just talking out of my ass. Like, when I stopped playing small, when I stopped believing this, like, woe is me, everybody else is greater than me shit, I would sacrifice myself to help everyone. And I was operating from this place of, well, God sees my heart. And God's gonna honor me. And God's gonna... And I like come back in and I sit down in in my corner, and I'm like, God, why is it taking so long? He's like, because you're out there fighting everyone else's battles, Darin, when I didn't ask you to. You're out there trying to play God. You're trying to play my role in everyone else's lives when it's not your role to play. The only role that you're supposed to be playing is the role that I've given you, which is love, abundance, peace, joy, kindness, gentleness. Yeah, but that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that for other people. No, Darin. Do it for yourself. I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah. You're doing it for everyone else, but what about you? Well, you do that for me. Yeah. But you won't receive it because I'm a part of you. And you have identified yourself with trash, not with me. And you are literally, I don't know who told you that that's what you should believe, but this playing small thing, you're not helping anybody. Imagine if all God's people, if all humanity just played small. Like, I'm not gonna do nothing because I don't matter and like everybody else does. I'm not a good speaker, I can't do that. I'm not very attractive, I can't be on camera. I don't have good style, I'm actually kind of awkward, I can't do that. I have social anxiety, I can't, like these limitations, yeah, okay, cool. But like I said in my last live session, imagine Moses, right? Apparently he had some sort of speech impediment or stutter or something. And God has this like way of using people that you would never think. He's like, yo, Moses, you need to go talk to Pharaoh real quick and tell that fool, like, he needs to chill and let my people go. And Moses is like, okay. And Moses is like, me? It's like, yeah, you. He's like, all right. Okay. And he looks at his wife and he's probably like, yo, I'm hearing voices. But I feel like God's telling me to do some crazy shit. I don't know how the situation went, but the point that I'm trying to make is like, I've seen what happens when humans stop playing small and start walking in their power and stop acting like they're just this fucking, I'm so humble, like fucking turd nugget, and actually start being themselves. I've seen amazing shit happen. On the other side of that coin, people are gonna hate you for it. And people are gonna be like, who the fuck does this guy think he is, or this girl thinks she is? What are you gonna tell me about life, Darin? Like, yeah, well, I don't know, maybe we can have a conversation. But with that attitude, I ain't telling you nothing. You know what I need? I need a camera that watches me on live, because like, imagine like you don't see the phones and you just see me talking like this to myself. People are probably like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Anyway, enough with the meta perspectives. But like, you think about the story of Moses, like apparently he had a stuttering problem or whatever, and he goes up to Pharaoh and he's like, he's knock knock, and Pharaoh's like, yo, what's up, dude? He's like, yo, like, real quick, so, okay, where do I begin? It was like a fire, there was like okay, wait a second. A bush, a fire, like, and then I am. But basically you just need to let well, Can you please let God's people listen? Hold on. Here, can we close the door real fast? Can we start over? This is the man that God chose to use for setting his people free. All the slaves in Egypt. I can only imagine. He didn't use like the fucking... So all of this to say, look, lean into your insecurities, lean into the shit where you're like, I don't know, like I'm not good at so-and-so. Yeah, you're not. You're not. But you are as good as you. And who you are is better than anyone else in the world. So get that shit through your head, because if you don't, you're going to spend the rest of your life comparing yourself to everyone else, never being good enough, and never knowing what you were truly capable of. Because I have found myself in rooms with people of the highest caliber, with no fucking credentials. Like how the fuck did I get here? I had no credentials, and I'm supposed to be operating at this capacity of like, what? And so I'm saying all of this to say, there's no better food than pizza and tacos. And if you put pineapple on your pizza, fuck you. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Pineapple on pizza, you know what? It's actually, I ate some not too long ago. Maybe like, I don't know, I want to say like a year ago, not realizing there was pineapple on it. And I enjoyed it. And if any of you motherfuckers go and tell anybody what I just said, on God, I love pineapple on pizza. That's it. That life is over. Get out of here. Bye. It's like, yeah, everything you were just saying, man, it was all great and all and really inspiring. But once you said that pineapple on pizza thing, you lost me. Love your content, man, but I just can't follow you. The whole pineapple on pizza stuff. Try putting honey on pizza. You know what? That is a fucking travesty. But I might try it. Dang, there ain't nobody on my YouTube tonight. There's usually like fucking 20 people on here. But Instagram, what's up? Yeah, man, I got a YouTube. It's basically just like shorts and stuff. It's pretty much the same shit that I have on Instagram. Some of it's different though. I have longer form content on there as well. And then I think I'm going to start putting my podcasts on YouTube. All right, so I'm going to let you guys in on what I'm going to be working on. So I have a podcast called Less Perfection. And it's just kind of shoot from the hip, kind of like, what are we talking about? This is what we're talking about. And we just riff on it. If it's just me, it's kind of like train of thought, whatever. But what I want to start doing is like speaking on these revelations that I have, or these like meditations that I have, right? Like just ideas, and just free balling it, and just dumping out, because I do this already on my voice notes. So I'm like, dude, this would be dope to just do for a podcast. some of this shit is wild. Like, I'm like talking about aliens and other dimensions and a lot of God stuff and a lot of other shit that's pretty cool. So anyway, there's that. And then what else was it? I think that's it. Lost my train of thought. Voice note types are the best. Yeah, dude, for sure. For sure. I am part of God. He is within us. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's like, you being alive is evidence of God, in my opinion. Life itself is all the evidence we need of an intelligent, creative force. Anyway, a lot of people, just because they're alive, think that they have connection to God. It's like those parents who provide for their children, but their children hate them and don't ever talk to them and just take advantage of all their luxuries and all that stuff. And like, they're just like those spoiled kids whose parents pay for everything, but they're like, fuck my parents. My parents are fucking stupid. Of course they pay for my stuff because they're my parents. This is how most people act towards their creator. Your life is the evidence that you are being sustained by a force greater than yourself. Whether you choose to be connected to that, well, that's up to you. Because that force is love and is life. And if you choose to deny it, based, like, even when the evidence is all fucking in front of your face, well, love will let you do that. And will actively work to try to change your mind. However, it will not force you to do anything. Because then it wouldn't be love. So the sheer fact that people can do evil, in my opinion, is testament to love. Because love allows, and I know this is kind of a harsh thing to wrap your head around, but love allows choice. And a lot of people are like, if God is real, then why do people do these horrific things? It's like, I know you want to blame somebody here, but God's not the one you want to blame here. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, it's like, pineapple on pizza is not okay, you know? All right, here we go. Can materialistic things make people feel good in the long term? Maybe. But it fades for sure. You know, I have to remind myself daily, like, dude, I have a fucking great apartment. I love it. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but it's like, I love it. It's fucking, I used to live in a 10 by 10 apartment. Like, I could literally, like, almost stretch my arms across and touch wall to wall on all sides. Okay? And I was happy with that. I loved how fucking cozy that was. Not how many roaches there were in there, but we're not going to talk about that. So, no, I'm not allowing anybody to join right now. Thanks for asking, though. And so, let me get back on subject here. That stuff fades, and there are times where I'm like, dang, like, I can't wait to, like, get my house. And I'm like, yeah, but are you discontent right now? I'm like, oh fuck, like maybe I am. You know, and I have to constantly remind myself, like, I used to pray for what I now have. I need to remember that. Yeah, Josh knows. Josh has seen my apartment. And so materialistic things, they're not bad. But when you depend on that for your overall fulfillment in life, well, you will constantly be chasing. What? Why was that? What the heck was that, dude? That was so funny. I'm trying to be all quiet and shit. Yeah, so I do, well, it could be better. Like, the lighting's usually better when I do this. It's like this, and then my backlights are dim, but thank you. I appreciate that. I'm 23. What should I do to be successful and peaceful at life? Define what success is for you and pursue that. Dude, I know. Wait, Josh, did you ever see my apartment in Hollywood though? Like a little 10 by 10, and like my front door was, and my neighbor's door were like this. Or did I not like you then? We hadn't become friends yet. Thank you for everything. Some guitar. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thanks for stopping by, Nas. Oh, okay, that was before. Got you. Okay, never mind. $654. I appreciate that, dude. You've given me lots of advice before, and I'm trying to execute on those. I'm so thankful for your help, man. Really love your peaceful live streams. Keep grinding. I appreciate that. You hated me at first. Yeah, I did. Man, I got issues, bro. I'm gonna add Josh right now. Let me see, where is it? Josh, you got your makeup on? I'm gonna add Josh, and then we talk for a few minutes. I'm gonna get off.
Brother, I don't know how to wear makeup.
Don't lie. I've seen you do your eyeliner, your little emo eyeliner. What's up,
I
dude?
have been using a facial moisturizer lately.
Oh, okay.
And
I can tell.
Face wash, though.
Oh, I can tell.
I'm getting there, man.
Yeah, let me get close to the camera. Let me see your pores. Ah, true. Yeah, I can see. L'Oreal, huh?
Actually, no. Guess again.
Oh, I've never heard of that brand.
Starts. It starts with N.
Uh-huh. Be careful. Be careful.
You know what?
Neutrogena.
Fated.
It starts with N and rhymes with fative.
Yeah.
Native? Never even heard of such a thing. But it's working, apparently, because you're glowing.
Bro. I'm gonna put the hat back on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man. You look so good on camera, though.
I know,
How
huh?
do you do that, man?
I don't know. I was born this way, bro. It's just the filter.
It's filter and the olive skin and the lots of hair.
Yeah. You should see me on YouTube. I look busted as a hobo.
Bro, I've seen you in real life. I know how you look.
Shut up. Anyway, say goodbye, Josh. Everybody, say goodbye to Josh.
No, man. Come on.
You had always helped us and advised us fantastically. Now, what if the tides were turned? If you had wanted an advice from someone, on which topic would it be? Dang, that's a good question.
I'd love to tackle some of these questions with you, man.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. The company I work for makes natural bath and body products. Dope. And by natural, you mean artificial? Artificially natural? I'm just kidding. Anytime I see like natural ingredients, it's like, it's naturally made in a factory. I'm just fucking with you. Okay, so let's see this question. Now, if the tides were turned, if you had wanted an advice from someone on which topic, what would it be? Man, that is a good
what's
question.
the whole question, though?
Basically, like, I've helped people by giving advice. What's some advice that I would ask someone for? I'm assuming.
Nice, that's a good one.
Yeah. So here's a story. This one's pretty gnarly. So there's a guy who's kind of my internet mentor. His name's Jonathan Stark, and he talks about how to negotiate, your rates as a freelancer, and he talks about value-based pricing and how to handle sales negotiations and all that kind of stuff and contracts. And he was like my go-to guy. I subscribed to his newsletter, and I had an idea, and I said, dude, how are you not famous on social media? Like, you're really good at what you do. You should post this stuff on social media. And he got back to me and he was like, how? And I'm like, well, how about I show you, I put a strategy together for you, and you just like help me with questions that I have in the future, like pro bono. He's like, I'm down. This guy charges like fucking $5,000 an hour.
I charge $5,001
A month?
an hour.
Oh, why'd you drop the price? I thought it was a lot more.
$5,099.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. $5,000.99.
Yeah.
So what was the reason for that?
You just got to know your value. Actually, no. That just came from watching Price is Right. The one's gonna just go one cent above the other person.
Yeah. So manipulation is your strategy, right?
So,
Yeah.
questions. I'm not going to be good at the business questions, but if you want to do like some of the spiritual or like religious or
Yeah.
psychological, so I would love those.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
business, I'm an idiot. That's why I ask you about things.
that's why you charge $5,000.99.
Yeah.
It's like they're not gonna see the 5,000; they'll see the 99 cents and they'll buy.
Exactly. That's why I rely on people like you, my friend, because that's not my strong thing, and I think that's really cool because that's my weak spot, and then I have friends that fill in those weak spots,
Mm-hmm.
I have strong spots, but I definitely have weak spots.
What's a strong spot?
Strong spot for me, I think, would be like
Biceps. Like, I'm being serious here, Joshua. Look, this
Strong
is
thoughts from
revenge
you,
because
bro.
listen, you
Like
guys, listen. Hold on.
one, maybe like one. I get it.
Fucking listen, do you guys need to understand how this man tortures me in public settings? Okay? I'm funny. I am a funny person. And I say funny shit that doesn't get caught in group settings sometimes. But Joshua,
I pick it up.
he picks it up and he delivers it exactly how I did. And guess who gets the credit?
You.
No. I get the shame. Like, why didn't you come up with that, Darin? Were you just not listening to us? And Josh gets the praise, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Josh, you're so funny."
Stop it, man. No,
So,
no.
no, I'm not bitter or
What I,
anything. I'm
what,
just
I, what, I,
saying.
what I like about all these chats is
All right, let's get
questions,
serious now.
especially when people are talking about like when they're talking about God or theology and things like this. Really, really excites me, and these are the things I like to discuss.
Yeah.
You know, theology or philosophy or things of like whatever goes in between that.
All the boring shit.
Because I think, yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot there, and I think that a lot of people think it's very simple. Just believe something, and it's there. Well, what do you believe? I don't know if a lot of people understand what they believe, and that's what I'm so interested in. It's like, what do I believe?
Right.
And why do I believe it? And then, I love to talk to people about that.
What do you think about the term, or like, I don't know if it's a term, but like, when people say, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. Do you agree with that?
Well, not necessarily, no, because I would reference what you mentioned earlier about Moses, not being able to explain things verbally. Everybody has different capacities and gifts, and on the contrary, they also have weaknesses and deficiencies. So I can understand something, and I might be so nervous or suffer with such an anxiety disorder that I could never describe it to a crowd of people. It doesn't mean I don't understand it. So yeah, I think that's kind of it's a nice little phrase, but I don't necessarily agree with it per se, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, it has to do with the audience we're talking about, because if I'm talking to you like one-on-one and I believe in something, or I could probably like convey it to you.
Yeah, it's like it depends on who's receiving it. Like, are they like, I can tell somebody, the key to your success is discipline, and one person will be like, "Oh my God, that's so true," and the other person will be like, "What the fuck? Like, doesn't make sense."
Right.
They have no concept of discipline. They have like, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? They have all these questions, blah blah blah. And so you can oversimplify something, which I do all the time. But it's because I'm speaking to people whose soil is already tilled. I'm not trying to convince people to till their own soil. To if you're not ready for it, you're not who I'm speaking to.
I mean, what tilling the soil means is you're turning something over. You're turning the earth literally over.
You're loosening it up, right?
Yeah.
And so some people are so packed tight, like, this is what it is. I'm clay, or I'm cement. And it's like, okay, well, if you're trying to grow something in that, you're gonna have to chop it up a little bit so we can plant some seeds in there. You know what I mean? But then it's like, go ahead.
No, I was just reading like the comments. It's I've never been on like IG like live or anything like this, and I was just
Yeah, you
I
just
got
post
distracted by
stories
looking
about.
at the comments.
Josh does zero social media, you guys. For someone as handsome as him, I don't know why he doesn't,
Stop
especially
that,
with
dude.
his skincare routine now. Josh, you need to start inspiring people. You need to step in your greatness.
Man, stop it. There was one person I was going back and forth with. I don't know if he's still in here or not.
Let me see.
But he had a lot of questions.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. But what I was going to say too, Josh, is like when Jesus spoke to the Pharisees or like the higher up people, right? He would say things that were so simple
Mm-hmm.
and it would just go right over their head.
Mm-hmm.
But like the simpleton would understand what he's talking about. Right? And like the Pharisee or like the well-educated people and the people of status, they tend to pick things apart so much of like, well, their identity's wrapped up in their intellect, therefore it can't be that simple.
Sure.
And it's like, I think that something can be simple and vast simultaneously.
Sure, yeah. And I think a lot of that comes with it has a lot to do with the ego. It's you're telling me something, so I have to get it through all these filters of like, just to make sure you're not a shyster or something.
Right.
It could be the simplest thing of just like, hey, help that person.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes, ego can get in the way of that kind of stuff, and we see that a lot in a lot of the biblical stories, But
Right.
yeah, I think sometimes the simplest answer is the most complex answer, and that's what's kind of the weirdest thing here is that, especially in today, the simple thing of like, oh, somebody needs something, help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a simple question to it and a simple answer.
I think people, and tell me if you agree with this or not, people like complexity because they feel like if I make something, the more complex I make something, the more it says about me.
Yeah,
And,
there you go. Yeah.
yeah, and so their identity is wrapped up in their ego, which I don't believe an ego is necessarily a bad thing. I believe in an unchecked ego is a bad thing. And so getting wrapped in an unchecked ego can be very dangerous. And so that's what happens. Yeah, it's like their ego is wrapped up in like, if it's not complex, it can't be true.
Exactly. And what I think is, like what you said, is ego can be maybe different things. But what I'm saying with ego is the sin of pride. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So pride is ego, right? Ego is not necessarily pride, but pride is always associated with the ego.
Mm.
And pride is pointed out to us many, many, many times in the Bible.
Can you describe that for me? Like what are you defining as pride?
Well, pride could be many things. It could be, I think, in the most humblest point. And I saw this person here ask. He actually asked me a question. He said,
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool. It's the first time somebody's ever asked me a question.
You're welcome. That'll be $5,099.
I would say, so pride, your question was, how would I define pride?
Right.
I would say in the most humblest, pride is this vast thing, right? So pride is also mentioned as one of the most deadliest of sins.
Mm-hmm.
And pride is actually mentioned as the root of all sins.
Mm-hmm. So,
Okay?
okay, so just to be super clear, because this is how I talk to my audience. What is a sin?
Well, okay, do you want me to answer the pride thing first or
Yeah,
second
it's
thing
like
first?
it's like pride is the root of all sin, but for the people listening, like sin in regards of like
Okay, okay,
particular action, like
I
what
think I
does sin?
understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so sin, okay, in a non-religious setting, I think sin would be going against your nature.
Okay, what is your nature? What would you say your nature
Your
is?
nature is good.
Mm.
Our
Oh.
human nature is to love, and I
Hmm.
think that's would be the simplest thing to describe it.
Yeah, and would you say that's the nature of God?
Absolutely, the
Yeah.
nature of God's love, and it's kind of that's the thing. It's impossible for me to not relate it um, to God because at the essence, in my belief, we were created in the image of God.
Yeah.
And the image of God is love, right?
Right. 100%.
Now that image it's been covered up with dust and dirt and all these kinds of
Yeah.
things, right?
Lies, basically.
Right? But at the core, it's love.
Right.
Okay. So if we're going to be like non-religious about it, sin I think would be going against what we all as humans feel. We have something down here, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, then maybe you just ignored it.
So it's anything that goes against your true nature as a image of
I
God.
think I think that it is that's a problem. It's not a question that I don't think it can be answered because some things they just can't be explained in words, and I think that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the problem with a lot of schools of thought is that you have to be able to write it in a text. You have to have a theology about it. You
Yeah.
have to be able to explain it. But there are some mysteries that you can't write.
All right. And if you don't have it, you're an NPC.
What's that?
If you don't have that inner goodness, you're an NPC. Somebody said.
And that's where I'll leave it because I don't have the answer and I can't speak above my understanding. So that's what I would say. For a sin to me is something that it goes against that natural.
Mm-hmm.
Just you know.
Yeah.
I think you know.
I think, and the reason I pointed that out is because I think a lot of people have this idea of like when they hear sin, they think, well, I smoke cigarettes, so I'm sinning, right? Or I say fuck, and so I'm sinning.
Sure.
And so they're thinking sin is this societal standard of what is good and bad. That's
Sure.
what most people think of. So that's why I pointed it out because
well, who is telling you that it's bad?
right. Exactly. And most people don't ask that question. They just think
right.
That's what sin is to the masses. It's this.
Well, a lot of times they assign that person that's telling them that it's bad is this unseen church.
Right. And so, yeah.
Or this unseen entity where it's like, well, no, I mean, sin is just a word, man.
Yes.
If you hit somebody and they didn't deserve it,
right.
You're gonna feel something, right?
Yeah, because you're gonna be like, oh, I did something out of alignment with my true nature.
That wasn't right. Like I probably shouldn't have done that.
And that's like, that's what it means to. Sorry to interrupt you. That's what it means to sin against yourself.
I mean, we're yes. I mean, I would say that you feel that.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that. Sin can, because if you want to go like biblically, like what is sin? Like none of us would ever make it. Because sin goes like Christ said. It's been said that if you have a extramarital relationship, you commit adultery.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sin. But I say if you even looked at somebody and lusted,
mm-hmm.
you've committed the same sin.
Right.
So this is like it's a
More
thought.
precise. It's a
Yeah,
soul issue versus an action issue.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, you got to look more deeply. So it's like, okay, I didn't murder you, Darin, but I hated the way that you did this thing.
Right. Yeah.
And in that metaphor, my hate towards you is the same as murder.
Right. Yeah, it's just
You know,
as
it's the same
disconnecting.
as like striking you or beating you or murdering you.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's
so in that context, sin is it's not this like list of things where it's like, oh, did you do this or that? There is no list.
yeah, it's not like this outwardly thing. It's an inward. It's like a soul issue. You know.
This is the way that I see it. So, and then I saw this one person that actually asked me a question. I want to answer.
Yeah, go for it.
But as far as this one goes, I think a good metaphor for this would be like saying, okay, it's not legalistic. So if we have this like white ball of goodness, which I'm gonna call God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can't even look at it because it's so bright.
Mm-hmm.
Alluding to Moses in the burning bush, right?
Right.
So we can't even look at this thing, right? And then there's some things that that make that light hurt. It is a good light, but there's things that we can do that makes that light actually burn us.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the reverse of putting on sunscreen.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like there's some things we can do that it's not that we're trying to go to hell or trying to do this. It's just like that the ultimate good hurts us because we're doing things that's like it's in conflict with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like
yeah, it's out of alignment.
I don't know if that makes sense. It might have been kind of a crappy metaphor, but
yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, and the way that I describe it is more so like an out of alignment. For instance, the way that I see God is not as like this thing that can be like a singularity or like a single thing, but like an all-encompassing force, like the ocean. When you get in the ocean and you feel the current, you feel it, but you can't see it.
Sure.
And so, it's like that's even a rough analogy. We were sitting here literally trying to describe God.
Mine was better than yours.
Mine's always better than yours.
I think we should check the chat. I want to answer this guy's question though.
Do you see how he abuses me? You guys, do you see this?
8BB.
I'm gonna say something funny and y'all are gonna miss it, and then he's gonna get all the praise. What'd you say?
Did you see his question?
Whose question?
I think I latched onto this because it's the first time anybody ever asked me a question on it.
So what was it?
Or whatever we're doing. This question is for Josh. Do you believe that there is an afterlife? You see, I'm smiling when I'm reading it. That's for me, man.
You're so full of yourself,
do you
Josh.
believe that there is an afterlife, and do you believe that there is a religion that its teachings would last for many centuries to come? So it's like a two-part question.
Do you believe that there's an afterlife? So answer that one first.
Do you believe that there is a religion that's teachings would last for many centuries to come?
Real quick, before you answer that, Josh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Try to Cliff Notes it. Because try to Cliff Notes the answers.
Yeah.
Just so we can just for time's sake, and then also so we can get to other people's questions too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm probably like.
Because we can go on. We can go on.
The second part of the question is yes. teachings that would last many centuries, has already lasted many centuries. The teachings of the apostles, and I would look for the fathers of the church, particularly maybe the early Orthodox Church. Those teachings started at the beginning, and they've still been going. So that's for the second part of the question.
What was the second part of the question? Chat keeps
believe
refreshing.
that there's a religion that its teachings would last for many centuries to come.
Oh.
My answer to that would be, look at the Orthodox Christian Church, and so it's been going for centuries, and it will go for centuries. And then the first part, do you believe that there's not a glad path? Yeah, I do, but I have no idea what that looks like, and only pray to, through the mercy of God, I'll be able to experience that. That would be my answer.
Interesting. I'll answer. No, never mind. That was Josh's question.
No, I want you to answer, man. I want to know what you thought.
At the end of the day, I believe, yeah, there's an afterlife, but not in the sense that we might think of, like we get whisked off into some like place that's like up in the sky somewhere. I have a theory that, and I mean, who the fuck knows, right? But there's a scripture that talks about a day, 1,000 years to us is but a day to the Lord, to God. So essentially saying, metaphorically, that there is no time and space for the Almighty. And if we are connected to that source, if we are sustained on a quantum level, if this flesh and bone and this microphone and metal and foam is all being sustained by atoms and molecules, that it's being sustained by an energetic force that sustains this entire reality that we're in. If we are a part of that, when the body stops working, our individual consciousness and experiences and self, if you will, I believe returns to itself, which is love, perfect harmony, perfect peace, perfect, which is, in my opinion, heaven. Heaven is a state of being. And so on this physical plane, we have places that we go to. At my house, and then I go over to the pizza shop, and then I go over there, whatever. On the quantum, there are no places. There just is. It's all states of, it's just being, and in perfect harmony. Everything's in perfect harmony. And so this afterlife that we speak of is a place of perfection, that we might think like we're just like a floating orb in this abyss and just feeling all happy. It's like, it's beyond comprehension. And so I have reason to believe these theories too, but as far as hell in an afterlife, now we're getting on a different subject. I don't believe
that's a tough one right there.
Yeah, and I don't believe is a particular place. I believe it's a state of being, and it's a chosen state of being, of disconnection of source, of your true identity. Is a conscious decision made to deny the truth about who you are. And you have the ability to choose that. You can. And so when in the afterlife or whatever, if a person willfully chooses to be in a voided state, of denial of truth, then that is what they will receive. That is where they will allow themselves to be. And it is in this great chasm, this great void of nothingness, of the complete absence of perfection, of God. And this is what I believe to be hell. And you don't have to be dead. The body doesn't have to be dead for you to be there. There are people, and I believe I've been there as an alive person through experiences that I've had that weren't so great. That it's an absolute terrifying place to be. And so, I've never died, but I have read and heard stories of people who've been shot in the chest with a shotgun and should have been dead. I've had many times in my childhood life where I've had people pull guns to my head and try to stab me in public, and in all kinds of life and death situations. But it wasn't until I was 18 that I had a dream that I got shot in the chest. And it was the most vivid dream that I've ever had.
I don't think you ever told me about this.
Dude, it was absolutely insane. It was so real that when I woke up to go to school that morning, I looked back at my bed to see if my body was still there because it was that real. And I was talking to somebody on my front porch and I was talking about God. And I remember when I first started understanding my faith, I was very zealous. Like, well, you don't believe in Jesus? You're a bitch, And I was just this hood rat kid.
That usually gets them.
It does. It's like, you don't believe in Jesus? Like, you're fucking dumb. And then they're like, oh my God, Lord, forgive me.
The insult doesn't get them out, they'll usually get saved.
Yeah, I usually just be like, oh yeah? So,
Baptize them all in it.
I know. What's that, baby? Yeah, what is that?
Welcome home.
Ooh. I know.
Welcome home.
Welcome home. Shut up, dude. Mosaics. That's Mosaic slogan. Ooh.
Come here, better.
Dude, you're on it, dude. She just made caramel for the first time. All right, so
I saw you.
back.
Don't brag about it. Don't brag that you got a beautiful mother and wife.
I know, dude. Okay, so as far as what was I saying? I was talking about hell. Yeah, the afterlife. Oh, the dream that I had where I got shot in the chest.
Yeah.
So I was talking to somebody and I was like, I just remember in my dream, it was like me and one of my homies were standing on a front porch and he had one of his homies who I'd never met before. And I just remember talking about God, just saying something like, man, God loves you so much. And he's like, yo, shut the fuck up. And I just kept saying, no, God loves you. And he's like, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, and I just kept repeating myself, God loves you so much, man. God loves you so much. And he's like, shut the fuck up. And he's just like, shut the fuck up. And I was like, yo. And he's like, pulls the gun out, puts it right to my sternum, and just, pow. I had a white shirt on in the dream. I felt everything. I went like this. I felt the kick. And I was like, oh shit. I was out of breath a little bit. And I just felt wet. My hands were wet. And I was like, oh shit, I'm bleeding. And I was like, okay, I need to lay down. And I was just in shock, and I laid on the steps in front of my house. And I just remember thinking, damn, this feels good. I feel so relaxed. So relaxed. I felt like I was floating on clouds. I didn't have a worry in the world. I looked at the guy who just shot me and I thought, well, he's gonna go to jail. I just understood. There was no, how could you do this? What about my family? No, none of that. It was just pure understanding. And I was like, he's gonna go to jail. This, my homie's freaking out. He's gonna be okay, but this guy's, he just ruined his life.
Yeah, we're thinking about the guy that did the most awful thing to you.
Right. And so,
think about the last person that most people would be thinking about.
Right. And so I was at perfect peace, and I was just like, dang, this feels good. And then I started thinking, oh shit, did I die? And I looked back and my body was there. And then I was like, I just started like almost dimension hopping. Like I would think of being somewhere and I would just be there. And I was kind of floating. I felt like I was slightly floating above everything. Not quite like Superman, but just kind of being. But I also was kind of walking. It was weird. It was all in a dream. So
Moonwalking, maybe.
moonwalking for sure. So long story short, I thought, this is it, right? The reason I have this theory about death being, or the afterlife being a place of perfect peace, is because the perfect peace that I felt in my dream when I was shot in the chest and died in my dream, people don't usually die in their dreams. They wake up. Right? Yeah.
I got stories for you on that. But
Okay.
go ahead.
So like, but on average, most people don't.
Most people don't. Right?
Yeah, it'll wake you up.
Did
but
you
like,
see you? But you saw your. Was this like a first person thing, or you saw yourself dying?
I felt myself. It was first person. I felt myself dying. And so, and then when I died, I didn't. My eyes never closed. I was always conscious. And so, at least I don't remember that. But I just remember seeing, just laying there and just being like, dang, this feels good. And then getting up and then understanding everything.
Just peace.
Yeah. And so all I could think about was, did I tell people of God's love? That was it. I was like, that's all I wanted to do. And so at the end of the day, it was like, okay, what if I had died in a panic? Mm-hmm. Would I still have felt that same peace? And I think so, because I think what was happening in my body was a release of, when you lose a lot of blood, you get really relaxed. And
right.
Like it's euphoric, right? And so this is a shared testimony with people who've almost died, people who go through dialysis, stuff like that. It's just what happened. So was I experiencing heaven? I don't know. I think what I was experiencing was a release of muscle tension and anxiety and like blood flow to neurological systems.
Well, and is that not connected to heaven, like being
exactly
in your body?
Exactly.
Like I think that's part of
So
it.
also what I believe is, I definitely had a come to Jesus moment for sure. Yeah, but I had already come to Jesus. This was like a come closer to Jesus moment. Sure. So at the end of the day, it was like, or you die and you sleep. And maybe we sleep for another 10,000 years, but it feels like that. And this is a whole nother side of the spectrum. Maybe some sort of technological advancements come to fruition throughout society that is led by spirit-led people and truth, and something, maybe God does something through humanity and technology that allows us to come back physically in our what is called heavenly body 10,000 years from now, but yet it feels like a blink of an eye, because in death there is no time and space. And so when you die, you just, holy shit, that was wild. And then you remember your past life, you remember everything, but you have a whole new perspective, because now you're coming back in a heavenly body a heavenly body is a perfect body with a perfect brain and perfect nervous system, and there is no trauma, there is understanding.
Well, and this is where the lines get kind of like blurred, because science and religion aren't they're not enemies.
Right.
You know.
Not at all.
lots of times usually in science where you see the most like things that we cannot understand, like infinity, like black holes, like quantum physics, um, like dimensions beyond 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
We know they're there, but
We don't have the capacity to
it's
understand.
weird to be able to acknowledge something and not understand it. And so
Yeah.
I think that is where religion and science really connect. Because, well, depending on which religion you are, thank God, I believe that my church strongly embraces mysteries. And that is why we would not say, like, you don't always have to have an answer to something.
Right.
You know, you can say this is a mystery.
Right. Yeah, because it's like, it's almost
that's
like...
fine, because there are mysteries. We're not supposed... If you comprehend God,
You would be God.
You can't. Yeah, you cannot.
Yeah.
So...
And that's the thing. That's why I don't believe the whole, like, we are God in its fullest.
Well, that's Gnosticism.
That's what?
That's Gnosticism.
Okay.
This was like an early, like first century heretical
Right.
train of thought, Gnosticism, and you see a lot of Gnosticism nowadays, especially.
Right.
So I think the most familiar. Most people say, "Oh, Gnosticism. What is that?" Well, are you looking at a horoscope?
Right.
This is a form of Gnosticism. It's looking at multiple kind of like sources of truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right.
So this was a train of thought that went all the way back to, I think, the year like 800 was Arius.
All right, Little Rex. Thanks for hanging out. No, I was saying goodbye to one of the viewers. Oh, they were saying this was interesting. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah, and then Jolie said something, man. I don't believe it is a decision for some people to have the ability to choose. Some people are broken mentally, and it impairs their decision making biologically. Some people snap as children and become evil. So I don't think it's black and white. I think it's very complicated. And then that went on to say everything in life, the composition of the flowers, tremendously complicated. Imagine the afterlife. I think I was way behind on that, dude.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not too good at this thing, man. That was like an hour ago.
Yeah. If we miss your questions, feel free to ask them again, because scrolling up is a pain in the ass.
And I don't know how to do it.
Right.
Josh.
Josh, you act like you're 57 years old and you don't know how to use social media. You know how to scroll.
Yeah, I know how to scroll, but once I saw my name, I hit it, and then it stops everything else, dude.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, before I was rudely interrupted by Josh, listen, I don't have any grudges. I have forgiven you for every time that you've hurt my feelings. You see my face, Josh? It's very serious.
I feel like there's something that I have. I feel like there's something in my back pocket that's like itching, but I can't figure out what it is.
Well, you probably haven't taken a shower in a while.
Question. What role the aliens play?
My question is, what role?
Made by God. Or the us in the future. Or
Nephilim?
Nephilims, wow.
Let me finish my thought real quick.
Okay.
What was I saying?
Nephilim. I'm not going to tell you. You have to figure out on your own.
Fucking A. We are God. That whole concept. I can understand why people think that. I do not agree with it. And so that's all I was going to say.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, I thought that
I just
was
want to be
really
very
interesting.
clear on that, because a lot of shit that I say can really be like, oh, well, this guy probably is into tarot fucking palm reading and
Well, it
shit.
doesn't matter what other people think about you.
Well, I got to be super clear about what I believe. And
Yeah.
like,
And if you did that, then okay, right? This person was asking about.
all right, let's
mentioned
get to the
word
questions.
Nephilim. So whenever they say Nephilim, are you talking about like
Nephilim, angel human hybrids.
yeah, like from this is from like old like Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do
So
you want to go first, Josh? Wait, do you know about the news about the aliens and stuff?
I mean, these are two different things. Like, yeah, I do, but like, what do we want to talk about?
Okay, so I'll answer it to the best of my understanding. My question is
The Nephilim or the new news. You're gonna answer this person's question.
this person's question. My question is, what role do aliens play? Are they made by God? Are they us in the future? Okay, here in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your take.
Everything is made by God. There's nothing that exists that isn't made by God. Right? Everything that is made up of atoms and molecules of substance in every dimension is an expression of God in some degree. Anything that has life, anything that exists, this fucking microphone, like all matter exists because God. And so that's what I believe. Whether their connection to God is the same as ours, I don't know. They're there, obviously. Apparently, some people say they're multidimensional, not extraplanetary or whatever, or interplanetary, or however the word goes. But it doesn't matter. These intelligent beings exist, and so now it's like it doesn't disprove a God. If anything, it amplifies the vastness of this infinite being, and like it's just more intriguing. And I'd be curious to want to know, to have a conversation with one and be like, what is your understanding of this? What do you call it? Because God is just a term, it's not a name. It's he who cannot be named, like this force that can't be named. There's many names for it, but can't be named, right? So like, how do they interpret it through their intelligence that is obviously a part of this same force? You know, and that is because I believe that there is one God over all created things. And so
I agree with that.
So with that said, I think it's a really, as far as what role they play, I think it plays a role of, apparently, from what I hear in the research that I've done, which is very minimal, it's not a hostile thing. It's an inquisitive thing that's happening where testimonies, thousands of people see aliens, and some of them even like waved at them, and then they waved back, right? And like these children were visited in Africa, and these aliens were like psychologically like talking to them, telling them to be careful and take care of the earth, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, see, I haven't heard of these things.
Yeah, and all of these stories they're cohesive. They line up, and like even from what they're wearing to how they move to how the humans felt when they engaged with these species and stuff like that. So it's like it's really really cool. And one guy even said they are the one that they have and that they captured at Roswell died, but would basically was like 50,000 years advanced than the human race, more advanced than the human race. And so, can you? I'm gonna slightly derail, but spark your imagination for a second. Can you
Sure.
imagine a society or a species, say humanity, right, that has never disconnected, sinned, right? That was perfect from the beginning. That was
That's
never,
never sinned, you said.
yeah. So imagine if Adam and Eve, right? Like just let's go there for a second. Never ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and brought on shame and cursed themselves and essentially separated themselves from God.
Okay.
Say that never happened. Say they never did that, and it worked perfectly. Can you imagine how advanced that race would be? Like we wouldn't even be wearing clothes.
Right.
You know what I mean? We wear clothes because
Yeah.
that's rooted in shame, right? And it's just
Right.
become a societal norm. But like the technological advancements that would be made throughout human history, because there would not be any war, there would only be peace and collaboration in perfect harmony with the almighty creative force that is humans living out their fullest potential, every single one of them. Can you imagine how advanced that society would be, or that species would be?
This is what we would call paradise.
It would be, yeah, like pure paradise, right? And so, but we think about paradise like a tropical island or some place that you're just relaxing. Like you can't even fucking fathom paradise.
Universe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, what if there are other species out there that never disconnected from source in another dimension somewhere?
What if?
How that's fucking cool shit. Maybe they can
It's
show us a
it's
thing or
amazing.
two.
Mind-boggling.
And so this is where I always fall back on the story of Jesus, Yeshua, the Christ, the Messiah, the Savior, God in human form,
Okay.
to show humans
I don't know why you said it like that.
just who he is,
Okay.
right? So
okay.
what way to throw a curveball in
Seemed
there.
like there was already like some sort of thing going on there.
What do you mean?
You hit that J really hard, man.
Okay.
On Jesus. Or
Anyway.
no, I'm just messing with you, Dan.
Oh, okay.
You already know that.
So I don't. That's the thing, because see, you guys, this is how Josh is.
Yeah.
He's he's that friend that you don't know if he's joking or not, and you can only take it in doses because you're like, God fucking
Dang,
damn
I
it.
just snorted. I was laughing, man.
So anyway, this is where it falls back on Christ for me, because it's like maybe Christ, God coming and showing us how to be humans connected to himself again, was for humans. Maybe God didn't have to do that for other species, like these aliens, right? These other beings. Maybe the story between them and God is a different story than the human story between us and God. Just a thought.
Wait.
I don't know.
Hold up a second. So, I think I'm wondering: is there an argument that for the counter?
I don't know. It's just
Because I've never heard like a debate going on between like, the story of the Bible being specifically to Earth or anything like that. I mean, that's a whole another thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I completely agree that the story of the Bible this is mankind. This is us.
Yeah, God created man and women in his likeness.
What you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's the
Now,
human perspective.
Are you you're kind of questioning, like, is there another like story out there?
Yeah,
thing.
maybe. I don't know. It's literally just an idea. What if?
I mean, that's the thing is like we have no idea because
Yeah.
this is the beautiful thing about there's a lot of forms of Christianity that put things in a box,
Mm-hmm.
right? You in this, you go into heaven. You're out of this, you go to hell.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's not a human being on earth that can tell you that. There's not a human being on earth that can tell you you're going to heaven or you're going to hell.
Yeah. And if
And
they
if
do,
somebody
they
tells you
probably don't know what heaven or hell is.
Watch out. Yeah. So even the oldest form of Christianity, which is the Orthodox Christians, it would never say you're going to hell. And then on the contrary, this is the most hard to believe thing is you ask the highest priest in the Orthodox Church, are you going to heaven, Father? And they would say, God willing. God willing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so. I don't know.
Right.
God willing, I hope so.
Let me.
So it's like,
I think when people say stuff like that, that is their understanding, and they're very entitled to say that. I think that too is. I think it's. I don't think it's bad.
mm-hmm.
But I think it's a great way to approach the. I hope so. Like the answer is like I hope so. Right?
What is the thing that you find the most troubling about that?
I think the
I like
the
that
lack.
version, God willing, the creek doesn't rise.
It's like the lack of trust
Mm-hmm.
of when Christ was when he was being crucified and the dude next to him was like, "Yo, don't forget me,"
Sure.
and he goes, "Don't worry about it," right? Basically, like,
remember me, Lord, when you come into paradise.
Right, and he's like, "I got you. Like, don't worry about it."
Yeah, he said, "Today you will see paradise."
Mm-hmm. And so he didn't say, "Please forgive me for I did X, Y, and Z. I murdered this person, or I did that." Or he didn't sit there and spill any beans on his sin or his life. He just was like, "Yo, I believe you're the real deal, bro." Like,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, "Enough said. You're in.
Right.
I believe you're the one, and now you're being killed right next to me. Well, I ain't got nothing to lose. I'm already going out.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're like the real shit, like, yo, don't forget me, bro." And he's like, "Watch, I got you." And
He said that.
I bet you that dude who died on the cross next to him. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, but maybe he had doubts even when he was asking. Like, yo, remember me. If you're like the real deal. Or maybe he really did know it and Jesus could tell in the tone of his voice that he's like, "Yo, don't worry about it."
I mean, yeah, we could debate that.
Right.
But
So
what words did he say? Remember me, O Lord, when thou comest in thy kingdom.
some people.
That's what he said. That's all we can go on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he said.
Right.
But the difference in this person, I'm not sure what you're comparing it to. Or what you're using as an example.
Oh, I just totally got sidetracked and didn't even continue my train of thought.
Okay.
So basically,
I think oh, go ahead.
the God willing, it's like if you trust, if you know that you trust that heaven is, that you trust that the words of Christ are true, then you're of the kingdom. You're doing the Lord's work, if you will. And if God is good, why why would God say, get away from me? If you are genuinely, wholeheartedly, 100% know you are actively doing your very best. Like God's going, yeah, you tried, but you forgot this thing over here. Like,
but who said God said get away from me?
Depart from me, for I never knew you. Like people who like it talks about in scripture where it's like people think that they're doing right, or they use God's name to manipulate, and they bastardize the truth essentially.
I guess I was asking, like, were you countering what I said, or
no,
were you countering something different?
No, it's just my perspective on when people say God willing, stuff like that. It tells me, in my opinion, that what do you mean God will? Like, of course God's willing. It's clear as day that God is willing. And so when people say that, to me, it irks me because I feel like it's a false humility. It's like, wait, you're obviously you're living in truth. I can tell. You don't even trust yourself, which is like, I get that. But like, to a degree, you know your heart, and you know that what you're doing is in truth, and you're doing your best, right? Then why wouldn't God be willing? Now, are you lying to yourself about some shit that you are knowingly lying to yourself about? Then, okay, yeah, maybe God willing, because I still haven't come to terms with this particular truth.
I think that comes down to a difference of, I would probably disagree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes down to a difference of what we mean when we say God willing, because what you're describing is, yes, it's some false humility, it's some throwaway, like, two-liner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
This is not what that means. And now, if our culture wants to just, like, adopt that phrase, you know,
right,
and it becomes cheap, then that's what it is. And I think that's kind of what it's become.
So what?
You know, but
show me your.
What do we do? Do we change what we say? You know.
So what does it mean? What is that? The other side of that
Whenever
coin?
you say God willing, okay, so like we say, if we want to go back to like, especially the epistles of Paul, and we look what it requires, you know, to be a Christian, to be a follower of Christ. I don't want to go into detail, but if you go into detail there, ain't none of us going to make it. And it explicitly says that. Like this. We won't inherit the kingdom of God, but only by the grace of God, through the blood of Jesus Christ. So it's almost like this, whenever I say God willing, you could also say, God have mercy, Lord have mercy. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot to dissect. There's a lot to dissect that you just said right now, though. Is you said you're talking about the mercy of God. Most people don't know what the fuck that means. Or you're talking about the blood of.
They know what mercy means.
Maybe. Like you're talking about the blood of Jesus. Most people don't know what the fuck that means. So like, and I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Most people don't. And I think this is why it falls on deaf ears many times, because these are deep truths that are just tossed on people. And these people like, yeah, the blood of Jesus. I remember I used to run around and be like, I plead the blood of Jesus.
I don't ever say the blood. I've never once said the blood of Jesus.
You just said it right now.
That's confusing.
No, you said it when you were talking about the grace and then the mercy and the blood of Jesus. You said those three things. So I'm not calling you out or anything. I'm just saying, I'm just pointing that out to the viewers of like, these are very deep statements that when we toss them around, like, we're not just like willy-nilly just Christianese these things, you know? And so I would implore you to try to not say that. Like, say it like, how would you explain it to somebody who has no fucking clue, who's never even heard what the blood of Jesus means or what mercy even means? You know what I mean? So I think my question to you would be, how would you explain the other side of, the positive side of saying, if, what was it? God willing, or
Yeah, God willing.
God willing. What would be the positive side of that for someone who has never heard of anything, the mercy of God, the blood of Jesus, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful question.
It's really challenging.
You know,
It's a lot of, and the reason I say,
if I said the blood, I didn't mean to say blood. That's
no, well, because what you were saying was
so.
true. It was true.
Yeah,
But that's like you and I
not
conversation.
Like, that's me and you.
Right.
Talking.
And so when and this is my biggest challenge in what I do on social media, is deep truths in plain verbiage of just, how do you say the blood of Jesus without saying it, but still saying, you know what I'm saying?
Question, what you're saying is like, how do I say like God willing, kind of like, whenever somebody says like, oh, your ultimate destination, are you going to heaven or are you going to hell? And I say God willing. You say, what do you mean by that?
Right.
That's what you're asking.
Right.
I think in simple terms, it would just be that, like, look, to me, it's what do we deserve? Okay? And you look back on your life and you really think you deserve heavenly crowns and gold, and you did the most purest life on this world, you know?
What about, real quick, what about not what we deserve? It's not about what we deserve, but what if it was like what we got?
What we got?
Yeah, for instance, there's people on the internet that give people money, right, to help them because they're homeless or whatever. They don't ask them any questions. They just help that person.
Yeah, it's called almsgiving.
Right. So it's like that person could have fucking raped and murdered a whole family, but yet now this person is just helping them, and that person is genuinely grateful for that help. Right? So here's what I'm saying is like, I lost my train of thought.
But you see where I'm already like emotional in my eyes at this one.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna give to somebody,
right? Oh, okay, I remembered.
Doesn't matter, okay?
Right.
Now, that judgment is reserved for God alone.
Mm-hmm.
If I give to a rapist, if I give to a child molester, or if I give to a single family that's trying to raise, 10 children.
Yeah, that was kind of a crappy comparison, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that was, I mean, we could go down rabbit holes. Like, oh, I gave to them, and then they did this, and they did that. Am I responsible? No, you're not.
Right.
You gave. Somebody asked for something, and you gave it to them.
Right. So back to the God willing thing. You were saying, if I look back on my past, or we look back on our past, we think we deserve.
No, it's not about deserving.
Okay.
That's not really what I was trying to say. I think what I'm saying is that all we have to go by is the scriptures, the gospels, and the teachings of the apostles. If we want to go by that, we want to live the Christian route. Now, I'm not talking about any kind of secular thing, right?
Uh-huh.
about if we want to live the Christian route. That's what we have to go by, right?
Yeah.
So there are guidelines set forth, and then if you look at these guidelines, and I don't even know if this just only applies to Christians. I think this is like a moral kind of thing, because things
What
that
is?
Paul lays out is not exclusively Christian.
Right.
He
So are
lays
you
out
talking about
a
that
lot-
statement, though, the God willing statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I'm getting to. Is he lays out many things that are considered morally good and morally bad. You know, prostitution, drunkenness, extortion, all kinds of things that 99% of people would say, yeah, that's not a good way to live.
Yeah.
Right? And then he says, these things will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. But there is a caveat, but by the grace of God.
Right.
But by the grace of God. And then Paul himself calls himself the chief of all sinners. So
Yeah, we're going off into lingo territory that people don't understand. Again.
Okay, sorry. So it's like, you know, from my moral compass, the person that I would consider like a pretty good role model said himself, he failed at all of these things.
Yeah, at the standards.
But through like mercy, through the mercy of somebody that was above him, said, I understand. You cannot possibly do all these things. But I love you anyways.
Right. Yeah. So I like this. What do you think about what Skaggs said? She said, on one hand, God willing is like saying, I'm not sure my will is aligned with God's will. And on the other hand, it can also just be a phrase that acknowledges God's sovereignty.
Yeah, I agree. So where is this again? Can you repeat that? Because I didn't see the thing.
It says, on one hand, God willing is like saying, I'm not sure my will is aligned with God's will. On the other hand, it can just be a phrase that acknowledges God's sovereignty. So it almost has double meaning. I think the way that I look at it is saying, like, I don't know if my will is aligned with God. It's like this unsure, like, relationship, you know? And so, on the other hand, I think what you're saying is it's an acknowledgement of a sovereignty that is beyond my understanding. Not that I don't trust it, but that I just see it differently. And I lean in it. I lean into it this way, and it's like, okay, cool. It's just like another perspective on. I mean, what are words? I mean, words are.
Yeah, exactly. I think it has a lot to do with like, especially here in. That's the funny thing. It depends literally like where you are, because I could say like I'm from the South and you're from the South too, right?
Right.
If I say God bless you, bless your heart, this can mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
I said bless your heart. This could be an insult or it could be a term of endearment.
Right.
You know, so I think we're getting into that kind of territory. Whenever people say God willing, well, some people are just saying that.
Right.
But some people, when they say that, they're very, very, very sincere.
Right.
And they mean it with their whole heart. When they say God willing, you know, God willing, this or that. Some people are saying it with all of their heart.
Right.
And then some people might just say, oh, yeah, God willing.
Yeah, it's like a blanket statement. Right.
You know?
Yeah,
it's
like.
Doesn't mean, that's not the same thing.
Right, yeah.
It's the same two words, but
the meaning is different.
Not the same thing.
It's like the intention behind it.
So that's where like differences, and that's where you go into like exegesis and like interpretations of scriptures and theologies and things like this. Whenever you go into like Greek and all of these things, you know, you deep dive into like, because the Greek language has many different words for
Right.
the same word. So,
Right.
like whenever we say God bless, or we just say like God willing, there would be like 5 different words for that.
Right.
But
Yeah. I think
I think it gets a lot lost in just kind of in that.
right. I think I have there's a lot of stigmas in this particular like belief system. And I think one of the things that I've seen do most harm are people who just throw terms out there. And so I get very like, okay, well, what does that mean when we're talking about this? Because
That's what, yes.
we're dealing with truth here. So like, let's not like just throw shit around and be like, by the grace of God, and it's like, why do you say that? Or like,
That's, yeah, absolutely.
And so
that's absolutely, that's the biggest hurdle I think that we face.
And it can be a deterrent of truth, because it's people that are taking truth and just bastardizing it and desensitizing and taking it as this it loses its oomph.
I mean, dude, you hit on something that I could go for 2 hours on.
Right.
But then also it's kind of this thing where it's a double standard, because whenever you say these types of things, that I want people to, whenever they say this is what I believe, I want them to be able to explain what they believe.
Right.
Theologically.
Yeah,
but then again,
and clearly.
What you say, I understand that on the social media, I think we're on TikToks or
TikTok.
Just kidding. But whatever, there's this language, whatever. But look,
right.
I think that if you believe something, we should be able to have a theological discussion about it.
Right.
And if you say you believe something, you need to know the history of it, right?
Right.
This is like any other subject, but for some reason, whenever it comes to religion and Christianity, people just tend to be able to say, "Oh, I believe in Jesus, and that's it."
Yeah, it's just
who was Jesus?
Dude, for fucking years I was like that, dude, and I did have this connection, but I didn't even know why. Like, I didn't know why I believed it. There was just so much shit that was unexplainable.
A lot of people have no idea what happened before America.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Just a heads up, I'm.
Revolution took place. It's like boom. That's
right.
I guess that's when Christ started. That's when America started, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Around 1500, whatever. But
just a heads up, I'm getting off.
Years before that, didn't.
No, I'm getting off in about 5 minutes. So, just so you know.
Oh, I'm actually getting off in 4 minutes. So
as a matter of fact, no, I lost track. There's 3 minutes and 59 seconds is when I'm about to get off.
Yeah, I'm getting off in 2 minutes and 57. Oh.
Well, in that case, I'm getting off right now.
But you know what I'm saying, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I like these conversations because I can be very. I just know why I believe what I believe, and sometimes what I believe, there's another perspective. Like I can expand on why I believe it.
I just want to know that perspective.
Right.
And that's why I get so frustrated, because a lot of times people say they believe this, and then I say, well, what is it? And then they don't know, so they feel like I'm attacking them.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I'm just asking you.
Yeah. The moment somebody starts getting defensive, it's because they get overwhelmed because, well, it hasn't settled in them yet. It's almost like the dust hasn't settled in them yet, and you're asking them to define the picture, and they're just like,
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of it, maybe you alluded to this earlier, I don't know, when you were talking about a specific person, but it's a kind of just spoon fed that, like, hey,
Yeah.
this person, Jesus, just say yes, come up here and do this, and you're good.
Yeah. And say this prayer and you'll go to
That
heaven.
ain't it.
And it's like there's so much to break down in that. Like there's
Like,
so
do
much.
you even know what you just did? Do you know the Christology?
Yeah,
Do
it's
you
like
know?
yeah, and so there's a lot, and I think that's what's kind of being dismantled, and that's a lot of why I do what I do, is because in the field that I operate is a field of a lot of confusion, and there is no separation between me and anybody else just because I profess a faith. There's no separation. It's like
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm completely severed from the idea of some sort of particular sect of teaching or anything like that. And so, and that doesn't mean that I'm against all of it. It just, yeah. So anyway, I think in the realm that I operate, it's imperative to operate in truth without any cliche. Like, rid yourself of the cliche that can dismantle your truth, that weakens your truth. Yeah. And it's like these people that come out and they're like, you know, they make great content, but it's like they say this corny, cheesy line of like, you know,
motivational speakers.
Yeah, or just people who don't fully understand what it means to be redeemed or born again. Like they know they've been born again, but they don't understand what the fuck that actually means. So when somebody says, when they just say it, it's like, it comes off as powerless. And it's like,
yeah, you're absolutely
and
right.
And it doesn't mean that they're lying.
The word repentance is a lot of the times absent in the conversation.
100%. And so that's why I like to point these things out when you say things like sin or mercy or, you know, all this kind of stuff, because people are just like, what is that? You know? And I know that you know what it is.
Darin, I'm sorry. This is the thing. We hate. Why do we hate so much to hear that maybe we mess up?
Mm-hmm. And
is it that bad to know that we mess up?
Right.
Damn, like, come on. Is sin such a bad word? Like, are we above that to say we don't mess up?
Right.
You know? And I think I know we're limited on time, but the last thing that I would want to say is that if people would put so much effort, you know how people put so much effort into their careers, into their education, into this and into that, into like hustling and
right.
financial stuff. Put it like 30% of that into understanding your theology.
Yeah, or truth.
What you believe, your theology.
Right.
Like how many of these people? How many of us study theology?
Right.
Okay. But we're all about like studying stocks.
Yeah.
And, like, career paths and all this, but we don't study what we believe.
Right.
Our soul.
Right.
Study theology. I think that would be my final like message.
That's amazing. That's good. I'm so glad you came live, dude. I appreciate it.
Dude, I love you, and look forward to more of these.
Hopefully,
if people want it.
We will. Yeah, and maybe we'll talk more about aliens next time.
Oh, I hope so. Hey,
love you, dude.
To Tom DeLong. Love you, man.
Peace, dude.
Bye.
See you. That's awesome. All right, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know if all of you guys were in here. the whole time, but thank you. And until next time.